Here's the complete narration script. In 2000, 9-year-old Asha Degree packed her own backpack and walked out of her family's home in Shelby, North Carolina before dawn, and then two strangers on a rural highway watched her duck into the tree line and vanish, with a search covering hundreds of square miles turning up nothing. And that is the problem. Asha was in the 3rd grade. She loved to read, she loved gymnastics, and by every account she was a happy, ordinary child. February 14, 2000 was a school night. Her parents put her to bed around 8 p.m. in the house she shared with her family on Falston Road. Nothing unusual happened that evening. No argument, no warning sign anyone remembers. At some point after midnight, while her parents and brother slept 10 feet away, Asha got up, packed a backpack with clothes, a doll, deodorant, and a coloring book and walked out the front door alone into the dark, into the rain. Sometime around 2:30 a.m., she left the house. The next confirmed sighting comes almost 2 hours later. At approximately 4:15 a.m., two separate motorists driving along Highway 18, more than 2 miles from her home, reported seeing a small girl walking alone in the rain, carrying a backpack. One driver, a man hauling logs, said his headlights swept across her, and she reacted instantly, diving off the shoulder into a ditch and the tree line as if hiding from him on purpose. He didn't stop. He assumed she was waiting for someone. That moment, 4:15 a.m., February 14, 2000, is the last confirmed sighting of Asha Degree. Her family didn't discover she was missing until later that morning. The search that followed was massive: bloodhounds, helicopters, hundreds of volunteers, the FBI. They searched the woods along Highway 18 first on foot, grid by grid. They dragged the creeks nearby. They checked culverts, sheds, abandoned structures within a 10-mile radius. Nothing, no backpack, no shoe. No torn fabric on a fence line. Days became weeks. They expanded the perimeter, brought in cadaver dogs, searched again after the leaves fell that autumn so the ground would be visible. Still nothing turned up. A 9-year-old girl on foot in the rain, half a mile from the last place, two strangers watched her disappear into the trees, and the search radius that should have contained her produced not one physical trace for an entire year. For a long time, investigators leaned on the simplest explanation. Asha ran away. The packed backpack supported it. The clothes, the deodorant, the toy, chosen and prepared in advance, suggested a child who planned to leave and intended to keep walking. Investigators theorized she was heading somewhere specific, maybe toward a relative, maybe just away, and that she'd gotten lost or hurt in unfamiliar woods after leaving the road. It was a theory that let the case make sense. A frightened runaway, alone in bad weather, overtaken by exposure or an accident, somewhere within reach of that highway. Remember the running theory: a child who packed her bag and walked into the dark on her own. Then, in February 2001, almost exactly a year later, a hair bow and a broken umbrella belonging to Asha were found scattered along Highway 421, near the town of Rhonda, more than 100 miles from Shelby. A 9-year-old on foot alone could not have walked that distance in one night, let alone crossed it without a single person along 100 miles of road recalling her. There was no ticket purchased in her name, no hitchhiking report, no vehicle ever tied to her. The items weren't buried or hidden. They were simply lying along a roadside, as if dropped in transit and never noticed again until someone happened to look down. The runaway theory required her to still be near that first highway. The evidence said she, or at least her belongings, had crossed the state. The detail that makes this case unexplainable isn't the distance, it's what surrounds it. No family in that household heard the front door open at 2:30 in the morning. No dog barked. No car was heard idling on Falston Road. A child assembled supplies for a journey and left a locked house undetected, walked over 2 miles alone in the rain to a highway, and was gone within minutes of being seen. And then, 12 months later, her possessions surfaced on a road she had no known way of reaching, with no trace of how she got there, or with whom. Her remains were eventually found in a wooded area of Burke County, discovered by a work crew, decades worth of forensic advances still unable to determine exactly what happened in between. The case remains open. No arrest has ever been made. So who was on Highway 18 at 4:15 that morning, and why did a 9-year-old duck into the dark like she already knew someone was coming?